Levi Boone had lived alone so long that time blurred into a single, unbroken stretch. Days didn't matter anymore, the ranch itself kept the calendar. Snow receded inch by inch each morning, mud cracked dry by mid-April, and the mule's winter coat clung stubbornly, though the nights grew milder. That was enough to mark the seasons. He was mending the outer fence when he noticed crows circling low, just above the treetops behind the barn, a sign of death or dying. Leaving the fence half-fixed, he trudged uphill, boots sinking into thawing earth, one hand resting on the rifle slung across his back. His knuckles were raw from splinters, his coat heavy with sweat and animal grease. He expected a coyote or a deer, not a man. The man was native, old, though age was hard to pin down. Dirt clung to him like a second skin, dried blood caked across his chest. A broken arrow jutted from his abdomen, snapped at the shaft. His breath rasped, faint and uneven, lips cracked, tongue dry. He wasn't conscious. Levi stood over him, jaw tight, scanning the silent tree line. No riders, no sounds, just wind through last fall's brittle brush. His pulse thudded slow and heavy. He didn't want this, strangers, trouble, or ties to any tribe. But he couldn't walk away from someone clinging to life. Kneeling, he pressed 2 fingers to the man's neck. A faint pulse, clammy skin, the wound reeking of infection. Whatever fight had left him here hadn't been quick. Levi stood, adjusted his rifle, and dragged the man to the barn, laying him in dry straw. The mule brayed once but stayed put. It wasn't kindness driving him, just instinct, something raw and unyielding. He gathered what he had, boiled water, whiskey, old rags, a skinning knife. With slow precision, he cut away the man's vest, extracted the arrow shaft, and cleaned the wound. The man groaned but didn't wake. Levi bandaged it tight, silent, jaw locked. No prayers, just focus. Levi was no doctor. As a former Union scout, he'd seen men die from less. He didn't expect this one to make it. Still, he cooked thin cornmeal and spooned some into the man's mouth. Some stayed down. That night, Levi slept by the barn door, rifle close, fire low, listening for hooves or shouts. Nothing came. For 4 days, the man clung to life, waking only in fleeting moments, eyes half open, alert but silent. Levi didn't speak to him, didn't ask for a name or a story. The land was thick with grudges, old wars, new ones, fights without clear sides. Levi didn't care. He worked the ranch as always, fixing fences, feeding stock, hauling water when the pump froze. Each night, the man grew stronger. On the 5th morning, Levi found the barn empty. The straw was warm, the bandage folded neatly on the blanket. No tracks, no goodbye. Levi stood in the doorway, coffee tin in hand, staring across the pasture. The fog hung thick, the air too still. He wasn't surprised. Men like that didn't linger. Neither did he. But something lingered, a weight, unfinished. Like a debt unpaid. That night, the wind rattled the cabin window. Levi stared at his old journal, unopened for years, but didn't touch it. The next morning, fog clung heavier. Levi stood on the porch, coffee steaming, when hooves sounded from the tree line, 5, slow and deliberate. 5 women emerged, riding straight, calm, dressed for work in leather, wool, and furs. One carried a satchel, another a hide-wrapped bundle. They didn't speak at first. Then the tallest, broad-shouldered, stepped forward. "You helped our elder," she said. Levi stayed silent. "We came by choice. We won't take. We came to help rebuild." He glanced at the half-fixed fence, the sagging barn, the empty corral. The ranch hadn't seen proper care in years. "You don't owe me," he said, voice rough. "We came for the land," she replied, "not just for you." They dismounted and moved toward the outbuildings like they already knew the place. Levi didn't stop them. He sat on the porch, coffee cold, watching them disperse. He hadn't asked for this, but he didn't send them away. The women worked without pause. One cleared broken branches by the smokehouse. Another inspected saddles in the barn. The one with the hide bundle left cured meat and dried berries on the cabin steps. They moved like they belonged, not as settlers but as people tied to the soil. Levi saddled his horse out of habit but didn't ride to town. He stood by the pasture, watching frost lift from the grass as the women wove into the ranch's rhythm. The youngest approached him first, carrying a pail of water, boots muddy, black hair braided loosely. Her face held a stillness beyond her years. She nodded, he returned it. Later, in the barn, she brushed his horse with practiced ease. "Amasha," she said, voice low. "Even." He paused. "Levi." She nodded and kept brushing. That was all. The oldest, maybe in her 40s, sorted tools in the shed with authority, salvaging rusted metal. She led without words, showing, not telling. Another, with short hair and sharp eyes, mended a saddle blanket, humming softly. A third, limping, watched the tree line, her gaze never resting. The fifth built a fire pit, crushing herbs or roots, her presence steady and heavy. Levi didn't ask their stories. He didn't need to. They worked, and that was enough. That night, a stew simmered on his stove, made from his supplies but leaving more behind. Firewood was stacked, the table wiped, the lamp refilled. They ate outside by their fire, wrapped in shawls, saying little. Levi watched from the window, feeling neither threatened nor in control. The silence wasn't empty anymore. In the barn, Amasha brushed the mare under lantern light. Levi lingered. "We weren't given to you," she said. "No man owns us. Not even the one you saved." She handed him a bone pendant strung with rawhide. "You fed a dying man. We came to feed the living." She walked into the night, leaving him holding the pendant, the weight of her words settling deep. By week's end, the ranch had shifted. Tools were organized, firewood stocked, the mule's coat brushed, water buckets filled before Levi reached them. Survival, once a loud, solitary grind, grew quieter, shared. The women slept in the barn loft or outside, never asking for more. Levi learned their patterns. Ma, the oldest, rebuilt the smokehouse. Tula, the humming one, mended his coat. Sonny, the limping watcher, guarded the ridge. Winona planted herbs and paused by the unmarked grave behind the barn. Amasha moved between tasks, her quiet presence anchoring the rest. Levi began making excuses to be near Amasha, checking gates, carrying unneeded rope. She noticed but didn't comment. One afternoon, she was re-shingling the chicken coop. "You could have asked for help," he said. "Didn't need it," she replied, hammering a nail clean. "You'll fall." She didn't look down. "I've fallen before." He held the ladder steady as she descended, a wordless nod passing between them. That evening, a storm hit. Amasha and Levi secured a loose gate together, kneeling in the dust, no words needed. After, he offered his coat, she took it briefly, then returned it. They walked back to the barn, side by side. Inside, she brushed the mare. "You don't talk much," he said. "Neither do you." He smiled faintly. "You miss where you came from?" She paused. "There's nothing there to miss." He nodded, understanding more than he said. She asked, "You still think we came for you?" He didn't answer. She left, her footsteps soft on the barn floor. The days grew longer, spring pressing in. The ranch came alive, grass returned, the coop produced eggs, the corral was patched. Levi's resistance to their presence never surfaced. The work was good, the results real. But a tension grew in his chest. not about them, but what came next. People didn't stay. His brother hadn't. His mother hadn't. These women, for all their strength, were still strangers. Trouble came when Levi rode to town for supplies. At Grady's Mercantile, the air shifted. The old man behind the counter avoided his eyes, 2 men by the stove fell silent. "Heard you got company up there," Grady said. Levi stayed quiet. "Heard they ain't white." Levi met his gaze. "Doesn't concern you." Grady sniffed. "Small town. Folks notice." Levi paid and left. On the ride back, the words festered. He hadn't considered how it looked, a lone rancher with 5 native women. Stories twisted fast in places like this. Back at the ranch, Amashah saw the supplies and nodded, understanding more than he said. That night, a storm rolled in. The women moved without panic. Ma secured the smokehouse, Tula covered feed bins, Sonny watched the ridge, Winona saved her herbs. Amashah brushed the horses dry in the barn. Levi, soaked, joined her. "They're talking in town," he said. "About all of you." She didn't pause. "They always do." He swallowed. "I don't want this getting ugly." She set the brush down. "If they don't like it, that's not our burden." Her eyes held no fear. Only truth. They'd faced worse. The next day, a rider appeared on the ridge, watching but not approaching. Levi stood on the porch, rifle ready but not raised. The rider left. Sonny, watching from the trees, confirmed it later, "Next time, they'll come closer." Levi nodded. "Maybe not, but they'll make it mine." She didn't argue. He rode to town again, returning with a repeater rifle and cartridges. Ma saw them in the cabinet and said nothing. That evening, Levi called the women to the fire pit. "You've done more for this place than I have in years," he said. "Folks might come, thinking you don't belong. They're wrong. If you stay, I stand with you." Amashah stepped forward. "We already stayed. We just waited to see if you would." They ate together that night, no ceremony, just shared stew and quiet resolve. 3 days later, trouble arrived. A fence rail was sawn clean through, deliberate. Levi fixed it, said nothing, but the tension tightened. That evening, Ma found a bundle by the tree line, an obsidian knife, tobacco, broken eagle feathers, not theirs. Sonny tracked 2 horses nearby, no campfire. They were close. The next morning, a horse turned up lame, glass in its hoof. Amashah checked the barn for sabotage, her silence heavy. That night, Levi sat on the porch, rifle across his lap. Amashah joined him. "They're trying to draw us out," she said. "Not just you. All of us." He nodded. She looked at him. "You don't ask questions." He hesitated. "Didn't see my place." She exhaled. "Now it is." She told him, she'd fled a camp to avoid being traded, Ma lost 2 sons to ambushes, Tula escaped a preacher, Winona was exiled for healing, Sonny, a former military tracker, turned on her employers, earning her limp. "We came because you fed a dying man," Amashah said. "Because we needed a place that didn't demand our pain as payment." Levi listened, the weight of their lives settling around him. They weren't here for him. They were here for the land, for a chance to exist without explaining. He stayed on the porch until dawn, the pendant in his pocket grounding him. The next morning, a boot print appeared near the fence, facing inward. Someone had crossed the boundary. Levi smoothed it over, but the message was clear. They were coming. By midday, Sonny reported horse tracks. Levi and Ma reinforced doors, Amashah secured the barn, Tula hid provisions, Winona buried her herbs. No one spoke of leaving. That night, Amashah sat with Levi again. If they come, he said, if they think this is theirs to fix, she cut him off. We'll be ready. Her voice was steady, her knife at her hip. The women gathered in the cabin, their silence unified, resolute. The next morning, 3 riders arrived, armed, faces shadowed. Levi met them at the pasture's edge, rifle slung, Amashah at his side, the others in the barn doorway. Sonny watched from the trees. The leader spoke. Folks don't like you keeping company with outsiders. Levi stood firm. You must be lost. Amashah stepped forward. We're not leaving. Ma added, this land's worked. No law says we can't. The riders hesitated, expecting division, not unity. Levi spoke, you see what we've built. You think threats will undo it? You don't know who you're dealing with. The leader spat, turned, and rode off, the others following. That night, they ate together, the fire burning long. No one spoke of the riders, but something had settled. The ranch wasn't just Levi's anymore, it was theirs. Days later, the quiet broke again. A broken strap by the creek, a shadow following Tula. Levi called them together. No more waiting, he said. They marked the ranch, a brand on the gate, symbols on the shed and smokehouse, stones behind the herb bed, a braid on the corral post. It wasn't just a claim, it was a line drawn. 6 riders came the next day, faces new but intent the same. Levi and the women stood together, united. You're not from here, the leader said. We're not leaving, Levi replied. They're not your family, another said. They are now, Levi answered. Ma spoke, we belong here. Tula added, you want us gone? Try it. Amashah stared down the leader, silence isn't weakness. The riders saw the brand, the symbols, the unity. Doubt flickered. They turned and left. Summer came. The riders didn't return. The town grew distant, its whispers fading. The ranch thrived, eggs in the coop, beans in the garden, horses strong. Ma's limp eased, Tula's songs lightened, Winona's jars lined the shelf, Sonny slept indoors, Amashah stayed closer to the cabin. One morning, fresh bread cooled on the sill, baked by Amashah. Levi teased, didn't know you could bake. She shrugged. I can try. He asked, you ever think about leaving? She met his eyes. Not anymore. I just want to hold. They dug a new fence line that day, working together, Levi, Ma, Sonny, Tula, Winona, Amashah. Tools clinked, footsteps echoed. It wasn't silence, it was presence. At dusk, Levi asked, you think it'll last? Ma answered, only if we do. They ate under the stars, Tula's swing creaking, the breeze carrying lilac and dust.